A red line has been drawn between Jubilee Party and the DCP Party in Mount Kenya. This is after Jubilee Party strongly condemned remarks by the Democracy for Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua, urging tourists and also foreign investors to stay away from Kenya until the 2027 general election, saying political competition should never come at the expense of the country's economy or the livelihoods of millions of ordinary citizens. The party issued its response in a statement dated Monday, July 20, 2026, arguing that while political leaders have every right to criticize the government and campaign for change, they also carry a responsibility to protect Kenya's national interests. The statement was signed by Jubilee Secretary General Muitalel Olekenta and later shared publicly by the party's deputy leader Fred Matiang'i, giving it added political significance at a time when a country's political temperatures continue to rise. Jubilee's statement comes in response to comments made by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during a church service at ASCK St. Thomas Cathedral in Kerugoya, Kirinyaga County, where he appealed to tourists to postpone visits to Kenya and advised foreign investors to delay their investment plans until a further notice, even after the next general election. The remarks have quickly become one of the latest flashpoints in Kenya's increasingly heated political landscape, drawing reactions from across the political divide and raising broader questions about the balance between political activism and also safeguarding the country's economic interests. In its statement, Jubilee acknowledged that many Kenyans remain concerned about issues affecting the country. The party recognized the frustrations surrounding governance, insecurity, political violence, and what it described as the shrinking democratic space. Rather than dismissing those concerns, Jubilee said they deserved serious attention. However, the party maintained that even legitimate political grievances should be communicated in ways that do not damage Kenya's international reputation or discourage economic activity that supports millions of livelihoods. According to Jubilee, any effort to pursue political change must also take into account the wider national interest. The party stated that although concerns about governance continue to be expressed across the country, leaders should ensure that their public statements do not unintentionally weaken sectors that provide employment and also income for ordinary Kenyans. Jubilee warned that tourism remains one of the country's most important economic pillars, supporting thousands of businesses directly and indirectly. The party pointed out that hotels, tour operators, transport providers, conservation programs, and agricultural producers all depend to varying degrees of a healthy tourism industry. Foreign investment, it added, also plays an important role in creating employment opportunities, expanding industrial production, and also stimulating economic growth across different sectors of the economy. The party stressed that the people most affected by declining tourist arrivals or reduced foreign investment are not political leaders, but ordinary citizens who rely on those industries to earn a living. Among those identified as particularly vulnerable were hotel employees, tour guides, artisans, taxi operators, and farmers whose businesses benefit from tourism and also investment. Jubilee argued that any significant decline in visitor numbers or investor confidence could translate into reduced incomes for those groups, ultimately placing additional pressure on households already facing economic challenges. For that reason, the party appealed directly to tourists, foreign investors, and also international development partners to continue engaging with Kenya despite the country's ongoing political disagreements. The statement emphasized that Jubilee's differences with the President William Ruto's administration remain political and policy-based rather than a rejection of Kenya as a country. According to the party, political competition should never undermine confidence in the Republic of Kenya or overshadow the country's long-term potential. Jubilee said Kenya's institutions, people, and economic opportunities remain important national assets that should continue attracting visitors and also investment regardless of domestic political disputes. While criticizing Gashagua's remarks, Jubilee also directed attention towards President William Ruto's administration, arguing that the concerns raised by the DCP leader should not simply be ignored. Instead, the party challenged the government to address the issues that continue generating political dissatisfaction and also public concern. Jubilee argued that maintaining investor confidence requires more than public relations, campaigns, or investment promotion initiatives. According to the party, investors are also influenced by broader governance issues, including respect for constitutional rights, political tolerance, and also protection of life and property. The statement suggested that strengthening these areas would contribute to a more stable environment capable of attracting sustained investment, while also addressing some of the grievances currently being raised within the political arena. The controversy stems from the remarks Gashagua made on Sunday while addressing worshippers during a church service at ASCK St. Thomas Cathedral in Kerugoya, Kirinyaga County. And during his address, the DCP leader said that he did not want to destroy Kenya's tourism industry, but nevertheless urged tourists to suspend visits to the country until the following year. He also extended his appeal to foreign investors, advising them to postpone investment plans during the period leading up to the next general election. Gashagua linked his position to what he described as growing insecurity and also increasing political violence. He also questioned whether citizens could have confidence in security agencies to investigate complaints involving police officers, suggesting that these concerns influenced his advice to potential visitors and also investors. Those comments immediately generated political debate because tourism and foreign investment are widely viewed as critical contributors to Kenya's economy. The exchange between Jubilee and Gashagua therefore reflects more than a disagreement over political messaging, and it highlights differing views on how opposition leaders should communicate concerns about governance while avoiding unintended economic consequences. On the other hand, or rather on one hand, Jubilee acknowledged that frustrations regarding governance, insecurity, and democratic space are genuine issues that deserve attention. On the other hand, the party maintained that leaders should exercise caution when making public statements that could influence international perceptions of Kenya. According to Jubilee, political leaders from both government and also opposition carry responsibility that extend beyond partisan competition, and the party argued have the power to shape perceptions, influence financial markets, affect investor decisions, and also ultimately impact the livelihoods of ordinary citizens. For that reason, Jubilee urged restraint across the political spectrum, and rather than escalating the rhetoric that could discourage tourism or investment, the party called on leaders to carefully consider the broader consequences of their public statements. The statement emphasized that communication by influential political figures has implications that reach far beyond immediate political audiences. International investors, tourists, and development partners often monitor political developments closely when making decisions about travel, investment, and also long-term partnerships. And as a result, Jubilee argued that public messaging should balance legitimate political criticism with the need to preserve confidence in Kenya's economy and also institutions. At the same time, the party maintained that the responsibility also rests with the government to address the underlying concerns repeatedly being raised by opposition leaders. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media, where we give you news updates as they break. And kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. Hit the notification bell so that you can be receiving notifications each and every time we bring you a new content.